Asherah stands as one of the most fascinating and enigmatic goddesses of the ancient Near East, a figure whose presence stretches across millennia and whose identity was shaped, reshaped, and sometimes obscured by the changing religious landscapes around her. To speak of Asherah is to step into a world where polytheism and early monotheism coexist uneasily, where goddesses once thrived beside gods, and where archaeological traces whisper stories that written traditions later tried to silence. Her origins are older than the earliest kingdoms of Israel and Judah. She appears in Ugaritic texts from the Bronze Age, where she is described as Atharat, the Lady of the Sea, the Mother of the Gods, and the consort of the high god El, head of the Canaanite pantheon. In these texts, she is a stabilizing, nurturing presence, a deity who intercedes with El on behalf of younger gods, ensuring cosmic harmony and maintaining the balance of divine power. Far from an obscure or secondary figure, she is portrayed as central to the very functioning of the divine realm. When we turn to the Levantan archaeological record, her presence becomes even more tangible. Inscriptions from the ancient kingdoms of Israel and Judah, most famously the inscriptions found at Kuntalit Adrad and Khirbet el-Kum, refer to Yahweh and his Asherah. This phrase has provoked vigorous debate among scholars because it suggests that early Israelite religion, before the rise of strict monotheism, may have included a goddess alongside Yahweh. Whether Asherah was understood as Yahweh's consort, or as a symbol, cult object, or manifestation of divine blessing, these inscriptions show that she was integrated into everyday religious life. In household shrines across ancient Israel, archaeologists have uncovered numerous small pillar figurines, stylized female forms with exaggerated breasts, that many scholars associate with Asherah. These figurines, likely used in domestic rituals, hint at a goddess linked to protection, fertility, childbirth, and the continuity of the household. Even as official state religion grew increasingly centralized in Jerusalem, the private devotion to Asherah endured among the people, suggesting a deep cultural memory that resisted erasure. The Hebrew Bible itself reflects this tension between popular worship and institutional suppression. While Asherah is never described in detail, her name appears several times, often in the context of reformers destroying her poles, images, and high places. These Asherah poles were likely wooden cultic objects, possibly sacred trees or stylized pillars representing the goddess or marking her presence in worship. The repeated condemnations, by prophets like Hosea, or by kings such as Josiah who sought to purify Israel's worship, indicate that her veneration was widespread and persistent. The biblical authors, shaped by the emerging ideology of monotheism, sought to redefine Israel's identity by rejecting earlier polytheistic traditions. In doing so, they transformed Asherah from a revered mother goddess into a symbol of what they considered apostasy. Yet the very intensity of their polemic suggests how powerful her cult must have been, revealing a complex world where the boundaries between official and unofficial religion were constantly negotiated. Beyond Israel and Judah, Asherah's identity evolves in fascinating ways across neighboring cultures. In Ugaritic texts, she is portrayed as a gracious, wise, and intercessory figure, often working to reconcile divine conflicts or advocate for her children, the younger gods. She is described as the mother of 70 sons, a symbolic number reflecting her cosmic motherhood. In some myths, she even participates in decisions affecting the natural world and the cycles of seasons. Her association with the sea and with sacred trees, particularly the sycamore and the date palm, suggests that she embodied both the stabilizing depth of the cosmic waters and the life-giving power of vegetation. When we trace her name into later Phoenician and Aramaic traditions, we find echoes of her in goddesses like Astarte and Anat, who inherit aspects of her fertility, protection, and cosmic authority. These shifting identities reflect the fluidity of ancient Near Eastern religion, where deities could adapt, merge, or diverge across regions and centuries while retaining deeper symbolic roots. As the worship of Yahweh became more centralized and more firmly monotheistic, Asherah's role diminished in the official religious sphere. But cultural memory, as always, is difficult to erase. Some scholars argue that traces of her persisted even in the emerging monotheism of ancient Judah. The feminine imagery occasionally applied to the divine in biblical texts, such as the notion of God as a nurturing mother, or wisdom presented as a feminine figure, may reflect faint echoes of earlier traditions. Others interpret the symbolic tree of life imagery as a transformation of Asherah's earlier association with sacred trees. Though these connections are debated, they capture a broader truth. Ancient religions rarely disappear completely. They shift, merge, and leave behind subtle imprints in symbols and metaphors. By the time Jewish, Christian, and Islamic monotheism took firm shape, Asherah had largely faded from overt religious practice. But her memory survived, encoded in artifacts, inscriptions, and the cultural DNA of the ancient Near East. In the modern era, she has reemerged as a subject of renewed interest, not only among archaeologists and scholars, but also among spiritual seekers drawn to the divine feminine. Some contemporary traditions reinterpret Asherah as a lost or suppressed goddess, whose story reflects broader patterns of patriarchal religious transformation. Others see her as a key to understanding the origins of early Israelite religion and the complex evolution from polytheism to monotheism. Whether approached academically or spiritually, Asherah represents a bridge to a forgotten world where goddesses held central roles, and where the divine was understood through both masculine and feminine imagery. Her story invites us to re-examine the past not as a single clear narrative, but as a mosaic of traditions, some preserved, some altered, some deliberately obscured. She embodies the ancient human longing for protection, fertility, stability, and cosmic harmony. And in the artifacts left behind, carved figurines, inscriptions on desert walls, references in ancient texts, we glimpse the enduring power she once held in the hearts of countless people. Asherah's legacy is one of resilience. Though later traditions attempted to reduce her to a forbidden symbol, the archaeological and literary evidence reveals a goddess who once stood at the foundation of Near Eastern cosmology, the mother of gods, the embodiment of life, and a figure deeply embedded in the spiritual lives of ancient communities. Her story continues to unfold as new discoveries emerge, reminding us that the ancient world still has many secrets to share, and that beneath layers of interpretation and ideology, powerful voices like Asherah's still speak across time.